All right. Bows and bow ties. What's going on? Um, yeah, I'm sitting on the front porch. Um, yeah, it rained earlier, and I usually like to be out on the front porch when it's raining, but I was too busy cooking and everything. So now I can sit out here for a few minutes. So I figured I would come out here and just do a quick little live. Hopefully, I can get this done in about 10 to 15 minutes. So let me just pick this up real quick. I'm exhausted. I can't figure out what we're supposed to be mad about. Now, this is for Black women. Now, I say that tongue in cheek, but I feel like we're mad at everything. Colorism, misogyny. We engage in misandry. We're mad at people who are just anti-Black. Half of us are feminists, and then we got the faux feminists, such as myself. And then this like need for public affirmation. Okay, so look, sorry, I'm just kind of trying to get comfortable. I'm like scratching inside of my ear. You know, like how you that weird noise you make when your sinuses are weird. So yeah, if you're wondering why I'm wearing an Oklahoma Sooner shirt, well, this is where I got my master's degree from when I was in the military. I was overseas, so they had to fly all the professors over. So there's that. So anyway, it was just a cute, like, comfortable tank top. So let's get on into it. I just feel like we're mad at everything. Oh, sorry, dropped the gummy bear on my shirt. I feel like we're mad at everything. I want to talk about colorism. So out here in these YouTube streets, um, I'm like, it's hard to explain. Sometimes I listen to the Black female content creators, and a lot of times I ignore them. And one of the reasons why is because there's this, I understand the need to have the space, but I'm like, Lord Jesus. And it's primarily based off of this whole, like, get caught up in having these conversations about colorism. And I'm not saying that they're wrong, but also there's people who are like really tired of, um, like, for example, within the Black community, like, there's a lot of women who, like, they discuss like the light versus dark, and I get it. I get it. But it's kind of like some people, I think there's like this, I don't want to say hate, but they definitely don't like light-skinned women. And I get it because it's perfectly within people's right. I think there's so much scarring in the community that people are just looking for something. Community maybe. Um Affirmation, I don't know. But I feel like it takes a lot of energy to be mad, because when I listen to some of these Black women content creators, and like I said, the space is needed, but it just seems like that's all that is discussed. I can't imagine dedicating that many cycles to something, especially if it's about a group of people who don't like me, whether it's some white people don't like me or whether it's a Black man who's like I just feel like, okay. So for me, I'm like, if you're a Black woman and if you have darker skin tones, if you're more melanated, there's the education portion, but then to like constantly sit and have these conversations over and over about why light skinned women aren't even your friends and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, well, then don't be friends with them. Like, you can show people better than you can tell them. And it's really unfortunate that our community is so fractured. But I do understand why they have these discussions. I get it. I just, I think for me, whether it's people who are angry at Black men or if you're angry at white men, I feel like I would rather have a more productive conversation, to do something more with my time than to have those types of conversations all the time. Like, there's a place for those conversations, right? But let me take this. Should I move this? Can you guys see me? I feel like if I'm constantly having that conversation, I'm not growing in another area, right? The conversations need to be had. I just feel like at what cost? So to put that kind of negative energy into any of these topics, it's a lot. So like to listen to a whole bunch of women talk about colorism all the time. I'm like, we know what it is. We get it. But I think for me, it's kind of like I don't want to give that many of my cycles to those conversations. Now, I do recognize that I am probably coming from a more privileged place. Okay, so I do recognize that. But even if we put the colorism conversation to the side, I feel like Black women, we're just mad about a whole bunch of stuff. I can't get this out of my face. We're mad about all kinds of things. Let me go back to that list for a second. Let me bring that up. What was that? I think I put colorism up there because I know people like to get in a tizzy over colorism. And it's a big thing in the community. But I'm going to talk about the misogyny. We know that there are men out there who are engaging in very harmful rhetoric. I get it. And I feel like at some point, we still have to have other conversations, right? So, like, there's a time and a place when you have these conversations when you say, like, let me show you where this is like shenanigans, right? But then you should also be saying, okay, like these are the positive things you can do to combat that instead of just talking about all the things that people aren't doing right and everything. And like I said, there is a place for that. But what about what you can do? How are you going to fix certain things? I feel like all we do is engage in name calling. Now I'm calling out the Black woman. Now clearly I have a Black woman focused, or slanted channel, but I'm like, I'm trying to figure out like what am I mad about again? Like I'm mad about, apparently I should be mad about everything. So the colorism topic is important, but like I just feel like if you know there are a bunch of ding dongs out there, especially those who are part of the manosphere, why are you dedicating so many cycles to trying to convince a group of people who probably can't be convinced? They're either not ready or never going to be ready. It's kind of like me going up to a white supremacist. I'm not going to waste my cycles on convincing, David Duke and all of his friends or politicians or whatever that, whatever, Black people are great or I'm a good person or whatever, going out of my way to be pick me. Like I don't really care. I mean, I'm just not. I'm not going out of my way to convince them. I'm like, I just gotta let people be who they are. It starts at grassroots anyway. It's like based off of like your interactions with people anyway. So I feel like when Black women, I just feel like they talk about being tired. I'm like, well, yeah, because you guys are staying mad about everything, all the way mad about everything. And I'm not saying it's not justified, but I'm like, y'all are exhausting me. So I hear every once in a while I'll check back in with some of these content creators. There's some popular ones. I'm not going to name them. You know who they are. Much of what I hear is I hear a lot of misandry. Not to say that there aren't points that are good, valid points, because just like the manosphere has some good and valid points, but what happens is you lose those good points in the messaging, right? Because the rapper is raggedy. The rapper is bad. So when I hear some of these Black women content creators, now there is a place for that because sometimes you just have to say it like it is. But I feel like that's all they do is say these crazy, highly inflammatory things. And on both sides, sometimes it can be kind of funny, right? Because everybody's mad. Everybody's mad. But I'm like, if you have that much time to engage in having these fruitless discussions, you're clearly not doing anything to grow in any other place because I can honestly say I always feel like I'm a day late and a dollar short. I can't even keep up with half the topics anyway. I just happen to have this live because I was supposed to take my daughter to her lacrosse practice, but since they were practicing on grass today, they canceled it, right? They don't want to mess up the fields. If it had been turf, it would have been different. I was also supposed to sub in a co ed softball league. That also was canceled due to the rains. So I had time today. But otherwise, half the time I don't typically go live on the weekends. You know why? Because I have other things to do. I have other things to do. So I listen to these content creators because everybody's mad about something. I feel like whether you agree or not, the messaging, the wrapper in the messaging is it's a mess. So as much as we want to get on, the men in the manosphere, and rightfully so, I'm like, wait a second, Black women, we need to do a little bit of self-checking and be a little bit introspective. You can have all the good points and talking points in the world, but the messaging, the wrapper, the presentation, the marketing, because it sounds like it's going from pointing out or debunking some of the shenanigans, that's rooted in misogyny. Now it's starting to turn more into misandry, or it has been. So I want to talk about anti-blackness for a second. I get it. Everybody's mad about the people who are anti-black. I just feel like all the people who are anti-black, whether they know it or not, I don't understand why I should be all that upset about all the anti-black people. Because at some point they are typically reminded of their blackness. And even if they're not, what do I gain from holding in all of this misguided? I don't know. I just feel like most of the politicians, I feel like this. I don't pay attention to half of these politicians out here, even the black ones. That's a separate conversation for another day. Because I know a lot of people like to get all caught up in FBA and ADOS and the black. We need to have more black politicians who are also just as complicit in ruining the black community. But don't get me started, because then I'm just going to make a whole bunch of people mad. I just feel like it's turning into misandry, and we're like hyper focusing on why black men are this, that, and the other. And there's a time and a place for that. But I'm like, can we just focus on ourselves? Fix ourselves. Now, I will give us credit because it does appear that we have been putting in some work to fix ourselves. And we're looking for black men to catch up and all these things. I get it. I get it. I just get tired of hearing about, like, this is the reason why I try to like clean, oh stupid flies. I try to clean my channel, like, I try to make sure I get some of that stuff out of my feed, because if you're constantly seeing it too, and then sometimes my little ET figure is like, let me see if I can understand. I'm like, should I click on it? Should I click on it? I just get tired of hearing about it. And the thing that kills me is I think a lot of black women are full of shit. I surely do. They're like, we don't care. We're not bothered, right? I'm like, yes, you do, because you keep commenting on it. You do care. You're like, we don't care if he's this, that, and the other. I'm like, yes, you do. Be honest. Be honest. I'm like, people will get mad. And I guess people want to get in everybody else's comment section. But I'm like, mm-mm. I'm like, you are not worthy of my cycles. I wish I could show you what was in my feed right now. It's like probably a bunch of shenanigans, like arts and crafts, travel stuff on. I don't know why I like to look up things about like what ocean, like wildlife is like in the dark, and weird stuff like what happens if you deep dive and you go below a certain thing, like how do you die? And it's kind of weird, right? I think about all those things, like looking at people deep dive in the Mariana Trench. I know it's weird. I think about all kinds of other stuff, scientific stuff, anamorphic illusions, all kinds of weirdo kind of stuff. What I don't want to do is sit here on this app on a daily basis and, I don't know, like go off on why black men ain't this, and listen to black men be like, black women aren't submissive and stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, dude, like, people can't submit to you, and you don't have anything for them to submit to. But that's another conversation. These are all valid talking points, but I'm exhausted. Black women, y'all got me exhausted. I'm like, wait, why am I mad again? I'm like, I gotta let people be where they are. Shout out to my gummy bears. Gummy bears, Haribo. So anyway, let me get on to this faux feminism. Let me tell you something. This is a hard one to break down. Well, for me, it is because I'm not a sociologist, right? I'm an engineer. So, look, sorry. You are so good. With feminism, there were several waves, and I'm probably going to butcher it. So, if I butcher it, just look, I'm not mean to butcher it. You can do your research for yourself. But, in the beginning, you had just like the initial, like, equality, like for the right to vote, the right to own property or whatever, like that, right? Like equality, right? Because I am for that. Um, and I think the spirit in which it was written, I think people have taken and run with it in a whole other direction, right? That was the first wave. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, of course, I recognize that men and women are different. We're equal in our humanity, but we are different. We're built differently, whatever. Doesn't mean we're stupid or smarter than the other. I understand first wave feminism. I forgot what second wave was. I think that was more along the lines of civil rights or whatever. Third wave, I think, was when they started getting into identity, I think. When they started interjecting more of the identity. I think that's where you have more of the, and I could be butchering this, more of the trans movement or whatever. And I think with fourth wave was more of a intersectionality, right? And I'm for some of that stuff, but I want to speak to my fake feminism, my faux feminism. This is why, like, I think Black women don't really know what it is that they're mad about. They're like, I'm a feminist, I think. I don't know, right? I think with the whole feminism thing, people aren't honest. That's why I put faux feminism on there. I'm a fake feminist. I sure am. Because, well, I'm kind of spoiled, right? Let's call thing a thing. I'm spoiled. I don't like doing, I like playing sports, but I don't like manual labor. I just don't. Um, I barely pull weeds out here. We either pay for someone can pull the weeds, or my children and my husband can get out here and do all this weeding. I didn't sign up for it. I don't cut grass. I'm not saying I've never. In this house, I've never. Actually, one time I did this because it was fun on the riding tracker. But we have people who do that. I'm just, I'm not interested in that. Now, I know I made light of this, and I know I didn't make this a very intellectual conversation, right? What I am saying is, I don't think people are really honest what they want. They say they want to be feminist and stuff like that. And I think if you're looking at it from a high level, basic needs and wants and stuff like that, I do believe that. But I don't think most women really want to be truly feminists. I think many or most or many would love to have a significant other that was making a lot of money or a lot more money, that they can be a little bit more traditional, maybe not like completely traditional, but to, rest in their femininity. That's what a lot of people, can you see on the side? Sorry, rest in their femininity. I think that's what a lot of people like to use those terms. I know I do. Although I do. See, but I'm honest about it. I am a full on hypocrite. I am a hypocrite. And so when people ask, like, are you feminist? I'm like, yeah, mostly, sometimes, when it suits me. I think with feminism, what people have forgotten, I think what happens when you got to that third and fourth wave of feminism, I think you have a bunch of people who don't engage in critical thinking, who don't really truly understand what it was meant to be. They take things so literally without understanding nuance. Now, let me tell you where I jump in, and people are going to probably criticize me. And if you want to cancel me, go ahead. I don't have a big platform anyway. When it comes to like trans women, Now, this is the thing. I have a hard time with it. I don't really quite understand trans women anyway. And they like to say trans women are women too. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're really not. And it's okay for you to be mad. Now, the difference is this: trans women, if you say something, they're going to think you're a transphobe or you're being violent or whatever. I am not a transphobe. I just don't agree. But what happens is, I feel like black women, they want to be feminists, but not really. They want to be treated like women, but then they're allowing, or maybe they're not, maybe it's other groups, but I think they're allowing too many people into the space to compete with you being feminist. You already have to compete with lack of affirmation as far as just within the community. You've got to deal with people who are not black, who want black features, but they don't want to be like considered black, and they want to have themselves upheld as the pillar of femininity of womanhood. So I feel like who black women can't seem to quite get themselves together. They're mad. I'm like, who are you mad at? Are you mad at white supremacy? Are you mad at the trans women? I know this is going all over the place, but this is just where I'm at with it right now because I'm roided up on this Haribo and my weirdo sinuses. But I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I don't. Black women are just mad about everything. Who are? Oh, I don't like flies. It's so gross. Who are you mad at? What are we mad about? We're feminists, but we're not. Which one is it? At least admit your own hypocrisy. Maybe I'll do another live and just talk about why I am a feminist or hypocritical feminist or something like that. Because I'm not like a real all the way feminist, but like kind of am, but sort of, but not really. I feel like we're mad at everything. We're so mad about so many things. It is exhausting. So now you got the chicks out here talking about that soft life. I'm like, if you're going to be about the soft life, just be it. You don't have to speak about it. Let me tell you something. I'm not trying to do a whole lot of manual labor or any of those things. I'm hella spoiled. I know I am, as I deserve to be. Okay? I have 500 kids. I had to sacrifice my career for the family for a period of time before I got back on track. I had to do a lot of things. I deserve to be spoiled. That's just where I'm at with it. I positioned myself to meet someone who's my best friend most of the time, because there's times when he's not, you know, but he was able to provide as well. He was a high earner. I am not ashamed of it. So, yes, I enjoy being spoiled as I should be. I think deep down, I think a lot more women want to be those things. And let me just say for the record, for those of you who will watch this video when I disconnect, don't mistake a woman for wanting to be educated and having her own agency as far as earning potential or whatever for someone who doesn't still want to be, wined and dined and being able to rest in your femininity or whatever the current buzz terms are. But what's happening is, I think black women have confused themselves. They talk about resting in their femininity and living the soft life, and they start talking about all these things related to beauty. And all the standards of beauty are not based off of people that look like us, they're based off of white people. Their idea of resting in their femininity is going to go get the longest silky wig, and there's nothing wrong with wearing wigs, but they don't have kinky hair at the time, and there's nothing wrong with being straight and silky too, because black people can have straight and silky hair. When I get my hair professionally done, people are like, oh man, your hair looks good. I just never get it professionally done. You know why? Because I don't want to. I'm too lazy. The point I'm making is black women will go out here, they're so mad, they want to be considered feminine and all these other things, but they're no different than the black men who secretly want to be white men. This is going to make some people say, no, I disagree. These black men who are out here speaking in very misogynistic ways are really just mad that they can't exist as white men. They don't think that's the case, but it is. It is. All their standards are based on off of white men. Their standards of success, their standard of mates or whatever, they're basing it off of white dudes. They really want to be a white man. I mean, I'm just calling a thing. It is. But the same thing goes for black women. They want to sit there and point the fingers at all of these black guys who are doing all these things as they should. Well, I think the black men should be checking black men and black women should be checking black women. The fact of the matter is, I think black women want to be white women. They sure do. Now, I mean, like these birds are just really just trying to come through here, like all loud. Like this is like some gangster stuff. These are some like gangster country birds. And they're like flying through here all low. I'm like, oh my gosh, these birds are like doing a lot. But yeah, getting back to the black women who want to be white women. I say this as I flip my fake hair. The hypocrisy of it all. Oh my gosh. But like these black women are so angry about, oh, my son is home. Okay, perfect. Um, they're so angry about so much. My son was at work and I made him bring home some things, some extra things. Hopefully he doesn't come out here. They're so angry about wanting to be treated a certain way. And I get it because black women have been leveling up, right? But I think there is a blind spot there. There is a blind spot. I don't think they see what they're doing. They're creating, it's like two things that I see. I think I've mentioned this on some earlier videos when I first started on YouTube. I may have put it on Instagram. I don't think I've said too much on TikTok. I'm still trying to get my life together on all the social media. But I see two things happening here. One, the standard of beauty, they say that we're the standard, we're this, we're that, all this stuff. And I do believe we are a standard, right? Our aesthetic. But deep down, they're going out getting these wigs. They've got the eyelashes that are like this. Well, we already have the lips. People are contouring their nose down to the point where it's like, it's if you look at a lot of things that's going on, they got the BBLs and there's just a lot going on. It's a lot. I think people are the eyes. It's just a lot going on. And I look at these wigs and they got the edges that are way way down here. It's like hair coming from back to here, from the back of their head that they're slicking down to their forehead, or maybe it's part of the wig thing. I don't know. So that's the first thing. They're creating this aesthetic of beauty within the black community that it's kind of like if you don't look this way, then I guess you can't be part of this feminine soft life. Number two, I feel where the division is coming, and this is why I think that the black women are getting angry about things. They don't even realize it's happening. It's almost as if, like, if black women, we're leveling up. And if you haven't been able to live this life of luxury and to have all of these things, well, then it's like you're not part of this exclusive club. And I just find it to be interesting. There's like this it's like this silent movement, this silent division happening within, and this with black women in luxury. Uh, this is what beauty looks like. If you go look at any of these beauty channels, most of it, all the women look the same. I say that tongue in cheek because, of course, this isn't. Oh, no, wait, let me just do this. Lord Jesus. Here we go. These are just opinions. All statements are alleged until proven to be true or untrue. See, I have to put these things out there because there's always going to be some ding dong who's going to be like, not all black women, not all black men. Anyway, I digress. So that's what's going on. Black women are sitting up here. They're just mad. They're all the way mad. They don't know what their beauty standard is, and they haven't figured out that, like, you really are the standard. Why are you chasing at the Eurocentric standard? They haven't figured out their beauty standard. They haven't figured out the fact that they haven't been honest and saying, you know what, I do want for my significant other to take care of me. It doesn't mean you're incapable of taking care of yourself. Now, I want to just make sure I pause on that for a second. I have always been capable of taking care of myself. I'm a highly educated person. I have several certifications, some of which I don't even remember anymore. I've owned homes, I've sold homes, all these other things that we like to measure people of success, regarding success, right? Homes and cars and salary and all these other things. That's typically how people like to measure your success, right? With that being said, I still wanted to have a significant other who could make me feel safe. Okay. At the end of the day, I'm 5'6". My husband's 6'2". I love them. They're tall. Anyway, you want to feel safe. Like women want all forms of security. They want financial security. So if they can't find it in the mate, they're going to secure it for themselves. They want physical security. They want emotional security, sexual, security, spiritual security. They want, I don't even know what I just mentioned. I mentioned different ones, but you get my gist. Women want security. And I feel like right now, Black women are out here in these streets. They're not being honest because they're too busy being like, we're feminists. Instead of admitting, well, really not all the way feminist, right? I'm a faux feminist. See, they need to talk to me. I'm a faux feminist. They're not being honest. So what happens is because they can't like relent and say, you know what, I really want this other thing too. So it's easier to be angry. They ain't this. All the Black dudes, and we got some ding dongs out there. It's true. We do have some ding dongs out there. What's going on with that one braid that's just doing too much? But I'm like, we're not even being honest out here in these streets. Because I'll tell you right now, like, well, for those of you who know me, I've said this before, like my husband's not going to die. We're going to die at the same time. But if he should spontaneously blow up, let me tell you something. No, I don't, we're not dealing with that. I don't, I don't want to be the one who's like, I don't need this. I don't need that. I'm too tired for that. I need all the help I can get. I need all the help. So yeah, let me tell you something. I even told someone one time, now look, now I'm a little thicker now, right? I'm like size 10 now, but up until a few years ago, I was a lot slimmer. Um, Even in my fitness and stuff like that, let me tell you something. I've learned, although I'm an athletic person, I was used to be fast, but I'm at the point now where like I am channeling my inner white woman. And for those of you who don't know what that is, with the white privilege thing and stuff like that, I will be a full-on damsel. I sure will. Even if I can whoop your behind, I'm 5'6". Somebody 5'1" come up to me, white, black, or indifferent, put her hands on me. If nobody's looking, popping off. If there is a crowd, I will fall out. Why are you doing this? Why are you choosing violence today? I will fall all the way out. Not about that life. No, no, I don't need to be strong. I know what I'm capable of doing if I need to. But if I don't have to, I'm not going to. And that's the thing that most Black women haven't gotten. They haven't figured it out. They're out here like, yeah, I don't need this, I don't need that. I always say, go get your education. Get your education. And that way you are positioning yourself in circles to meet the kind of man that you want, if that's your motivation. The men who are in those circles, let me just say this is going to probably tick some people off. I don't care. Men who operate in those circles don't need your money. The real men, now check this out, the real men who operate in whatever circles that you're looking for, the real ones, not the ones who are out there looking for somebody who's of a, and I hate to say this, but lesser status. The real men actually do want educated women. They do. Now check this out. They don't need you for your money. They don't need you. Get out of here, bugs. They don't need you for your money. They need you for the other things. It doesn't mean that you don't have to work. It doesn't mean that you have to work. I think I said it backwards. But what it is you got to remember, if they're going to procreate with a woman, they're going to want someone who's like-minded. I'm not talking about the educators you see on TV with the dumb jocks and stuff like that. Not that all jocks are dumb. I'm not talking about, you know, no. I'm talking about whatever circles you're trying to get into. Trust. A lot of them do want educated, smart women, because those are the ones who are going to take care of their kids when they have offspring. You need to be on the same page. You need to be on the same page. But women carry the culture. Women carry the values. See, that man needs to be able to present you in public. Not to say that you're an object, but for those of you who are faux feminists like me, you're calling the thing a thing. So while you got the ding dongs in the black manosphere who haven't caught up yet, and then you got the women out here who are in their feelings because the men in the black manosphere have pulled a Jedi mind trick on these chicks, and now they are all in therapy and carrying on. Everybody's got mental health crisis, and I'm not knocking mental health. If you need help, go get the help you need. But they pulled the Jedi mind trick on these women. Look, go get your education, because trust me, it puts you in different circles. It puts you in different circles. You get exposed to things. You get invited to different opportunities, learning opportunities. Oh, absolutely. Your children play with other children. Now, we're not wealthy, but we do okay. You know what? And you find out other things, because your children talk to other children, and they learn from other families too, and vice versa. See, this is the kind of foolishness that black people don't talk about, but we're black women are so busy being angry, like, I'm a feminist. I'm like, shut up, girl, shut up, you sound silly. I don't care what academic wants to get on to debunk everything I'm saying. I'm like, I'm looking at what comes down to the core. We all want companionship, we all want to be loved, we all want to feel safe. That's what it is. So yeah, I think black women are exhausted. I'm exhausted. So when you listen to all these content creators, this is why I can only take it in spurts, because I think my inner ADD kicks in. I'm like, I think the word is capping now, because I'm learning. I'm like, stop all that capping. Like, you need to stop. I think deep down, a lot of these women want to be booed up, made it up, or whatever. They want somebody who makes a lot of money or whatever it is. And they want to be able, even whether you have degrees or no degrees or a lot of money or whatever, they do want to be able to feel safe. And like I said, safety comes in a lot of forms: sexual, spiritual, educational, financial, physical. They're not being honest. They're not being freaking honest. Hey, I just call a thing a thing. That's why I say I'm a faux feminist. But yeah, getting back to it, a lot of these black women are out here not being honest. They're walking around mad all the time. And then they say they're not bothered. Yes, they are. They are bothered because that's all they talk about. If they weren't bothered, they'd be saying, hey, sis, let's team up on how we can purchase uh, uh, some a cyber strip mall or something. And I'm just making this up. We have a cyber strip mall, and then we enter into this cyber strip mall, and then they have a smorgasbord of services and items or goods that we can choose from. They would be creating those businesses, and black women are creating businesses, but they would be focused on things like more travel. Yes, there are women who travel. I mean, as you guys know, I tend to travel as much as I can. They would be talking about things like, how do we transform the education system? Do we create our own school? But I'm not talking about Dr. Umar, because I don't think that school's ever going to pop off. He's just doing too much. They'd be talking about, let's create a new mentorship thing that's not centered around Jack and Jill, where we have everything centered around the haves and the have-nots. Now, I'm not taking a shot at Jack and Jill, so don't come for me. I mean, you can, but I don't care. I mean, because you don't have to. I'm trying to be timely at looking at the comments anyway. They would be talking about all these other things that have nothing to do with being mad at black men. You got to let them be where they are. Black men are going to have to check the black men. They will get there when they get there, because you can show better than you can tell. Let me take this down, because I know I'm blocking my wonderful face. You got to let them check the black men, and they will arrive when they arrive. Black women need to stay out of these black men's talking rooms or whatever they're in. Stay out of them. Stop talking about it. Let me tell you something. You know how many people I have made completely lacking in relevancy because I give you just nothing. I have done it to people's face. This happened to be a white woman. Actually, a couple white women. That's just because they pissed me off. But literally, just made them feel completely irrelevant. I think, is irrelevant really a word, or is it lacking relevancy? Can't remember. I just won't give you any of my time. You don't deserve my time. So these angry women, they went from being angry at misogyny to now, I think, engaging in misandry. They're just totally bashing black men. And let me just say for the record, I am not the great caper for black men. Okay. I think men are going to have to figure out how to pull themselves up because it's not our job to pull them up. We can't do it anymore. We're tired. We're exhausted. I just feel like black women are just mad about too many things, though. I think when they get honest and let some of that shiggity go, maybe there won't be as much mental health issues. I'm going to talk about affirmation for a second. Look, we have to stop looking to our black men to affirm us. They're not going to do it. Other cultures affirm their women. Our men are broken. Heck, we're broken. But our men are definitely broken, right? So at this point, you can't ask for blood from a turnip. You can't ask for anything from them when they can't even pull themselves up. It's at the point where like I'm not saying you give up, but I can't invest a lot of energy in people who are not willing to. And I know there's an education to a lot of things, and I know there's things put in place that make it difficult, but it doesn't make it insurmountable. So you got the men who need to get their education. They need to get their education. They need to look to secure more land. Land, quickest way to generational wealth. They have to find ways of increasing their salary. They have to find ways of being in monogamous relationships where you can build wealth together. They say people who are married or in relationships with other people tend to be much more wealthier than this single person, and it makes sense. Right now, they're dealing with their own thing, and I think black women are way too focused on black men. Black men need to, at this point, get together as a community, not an angry manospheric weird whatever that weird community is. That shiggity is weird. You know, they have to figure out as a community, this is what we're going to do. This is the plan. They need to have a vision. They need to have goals, and then they need to have some objectives. How and then the various tasks on how they're going to get there. Now, speaking like an engineer, that's what they need to do, and we need to let them do it. We can't be involved in it. They're going through it. But what I do need black women to do is just figure out how to get their anger under control, because I find that a lot of their conversations out here on this app, they're fruitless, man. Like, I mean, between the dark skinned women not liking light skinned women, the dark skinned women and the light skinned women mad at the preferences. I don't care. The preferences are gonna learn. They'll learn. They will all the way learn. I think they're learning right now what they're dealing with. I think there's way too much focus on being a feminist. There's too much focus on being, fighting off all this misogynistic rhetoric. I'm like, focus on building yourself. Focus on lifting yourself up. Focus on just providing solutions and alternatives. That's it. Sorry, my allergies are horrible. In the fall, oh gosh. Fall and spring, I am like tore up, especially in the fall. All right, since they're just acting all the way out. What is that noise out here? When I start hearing those little noises, I'm like, time to go inside. Anyway, that's it. So I know I haven't said this in a while. Y'all need to go ahead and subscribe because I'm amazing. I am entertaining, at least in my own mind. You see how I affirm myself? I'm not looking to anybody to affirm me. I have to affirm me because it's just where we're at with it. I mean, but you can go ahead and like, subscribe, share it, say something in the comments, see all my videos. I think I'm gonna get a glass of wine before I go to bed tonight. So that's just where I'm at with it. Go ahead and subscribe. You can show your support. Look, can y'all show some like can you guys affirm me on this channel? Can you go ahead and just say like she's amazing and then go ahead and give me a thumbs up and then subscribe? Black women, y'all need to stop. All right, let me get out of here. It's 7:14 p.m. on a Sunday and I need to go get my life.